chosen one. There comes a moment in every spiritual battle when heaven goes silent, not because God abandoned you, not because your prayers were ignored, but because God was watching, waiting, observing the deepest parts of your soul. And now, after everything you survived, after every sleepless night, every betrayal, every silent tear you cried where nobody could see, this is what God was waiting to see from you. Not perfection, not fame, not power, but transformation. The kind of transformation pain creates when it no longer destroys you, but awakens you. Chosen one, something sacred has shifted inside you recently. You may not even have words for it yet, but heaven noticed it immediately. Because for the first time, you stopped chasing validation from people who never understood your spirit. For the first time, you stopped begging doors to open that God Himself had closed. And for the first time, you began walking by faith even when everything around you looked impossible. That moment changed everything. Because God was never waiting for your comfort, He was waiting for your surrender. And many people will never understand the season you just survived. They saw you smiling, but they never saw the spiritual warfare happening behind your eyes. They never saw the nights you questioned your purpose, the moments you almost gave up, the silent battles between your fear and your faith. Chosen one, the enemy thought isolation would break you, but isolation became your training ground. What was meant to bury you became the place where God rebuilt you in secret, and that is why your spirit feels different now. You no longer react the same. You no longer panic the same. You no longer chase people the same. Because suffering taught you something dangerous. God is enough. And the moment you truly realize that, heaven moved. Do you understand how powerful that is? Most people only trust God when life feels safe, but you learned how to trust Him while everything was falling apart. That kind of faith shakes the spiritual realm. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if your heart would remain pure after disappointment, because pain changes people, betrayal hardens people, rejection can poison the soul. But somehow, despite everything they did to you, despite every attack, every lie, every abandonment, you still chose love, you still chose prayer. You still chose to believe, and heaven saw that. God saw every moment you cried and still worshipped. Every moment you felt weak but still kept going. Every moment you wanted revenge but chose peace instead. That is what God was waiting to see. Because real spiritual maturity is revealed in suffering. Anyone can praise God during victory, but only the truly chosen continue praising Him in the valley. And chosen one, your valley changed you forever. There was a version of you that entered this storm, but that person no longer exists. God allowed the fire because there were things attached to you that could not enter your next season. False attachments, false identities, false dependence on human approval. The fire removed all of it, and yes, it hurt. Some nights felt unbearable. Some mornings you woke up emotionally exhausted. Some days you smiled in public while silently falling apart inside. But look at yourself now. You survived what was supposed to destroy you. And not only did you survive, you awakened. Chosen one, the reason many people suddenly feel intimidated by your presence is because your spirit carries evidence of survival. There is a different authority on your life now. Not arrogance, not ego. Authority, the kind that can only be developed through pain, obedience, and isolation with God. People can sense it even when you say nothing. Because suffering gave you spiritual depth, you no longer need to prove yourself constantly. You no longer need applause to feel valuable. God healed something inside you that people used to manipulate. And that healing is making demons uncomfortable. Listen carefully. The enemy wanted you emotionally unstable, distracted, broken, hopeless. But instead you became disciplined, prayerful, aware, spiritually dangerous. And that is why attacks increase before your breakthrough. Because darkness always reacts when heaven is preparing elevation. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if you would keep your faith without immediate results. That is the test many fail. Most people quit during the silence. They stop praying, stop believing, stop trusting. But you kept going even when nothing made sense, even when answers did not come quickly, even when opportunities disappeared, even when people walked away, you still held on to God. And that persistence touched heaven deeply, because your faith became genuine, not emotional, not temporary, real. You stopped serving God only for blessings. You started seeking Him because your soul truly needed Him, Him. And that changed your entire spiritual identity. Chosen one, there is a reason you suddenly feel disconnected from certain people. Your spirit outgrew environments that once felt normal. God is separating you from distractions before your next assignment. Do not fear this season of distance. Some separations are divine, some endings are protection, and some lonely seasons are actually sacred preparation. God had to remove noise so you could hear his voice clearly again. Because your next level requires spiritual focus. You cannot carry everyone into your destiny. Some people were only assigned to your past. And deep down, you already know this. That heavy feeling in your spirit around certain individuals, that exhaustion after certain conversations, that is spiritual discernment increasing. God is teaching you to protect your peace. Chosen one, this next season of your life will not be built on striving. It will be built on alignment. Because when you finally surrendered control, God began moving things into place behind the scenes. Doors are about to open that no human being can block. Connections are about to appear unexpectedly. Healing is about to reach places inside you that you thought would remain broken forever. But God needed to know one thing first. Would you still trust him when you had nothing visible to hold on to? And your answer became clear through your endurance. That is why you are still here. That is why your spirit refuses to quit. That is why something inside you keeps whispering, keep going. Because heaven knows what is coming next. Chosen one, you are closer than you realize. Do not let temporary exhaustion make you forget eternal purpose. The battle became intense because your breakthrough became close. And I need you to hear this deeply. The version of you that emerges from this season will shock people. Not because of money, not because of status, but because of peace. The peace on your life will confuse those who expected your destruction. The wisdom in your voice will surprise those who underestimated you. The strength in your spirit will expose every lie spoken against you. God is rebuilding you into someone unrecognizable, and this transformation is holy. You are no longer the person who constantly doubted themselves. You are no longer chained to fear. You are no longer spiritually asleep. Chosen one, you are awakening to who God always called you to be. And yes, there will still be battles ahead, but now you know something you did not know before. God carried you through every dark season already, which means he will carry you through the next one too. Nothing that tried to kill your spirit succeeded. Not betrayal, not depression, not loneliness, not rejection, not delay. You are still standing. And heaven is proud of the person you became through the pain, because this entire time, God was not just preparing blessings for you. He was preparing you for the blessings. There is a difference. A blessing given to an unprepared spirit can become destruction. So God slowed things down intentionally, not to punish you, but to strengthen you, to purify you, to awaken you. And now, something within you finally reflects the maturity heaven was waiting to see. Chosen one, your obedience in private created rewards in the spiritual realm that you cannot even see yet. Every prayer mattered. Every act of faith mattered. Every moment you resisted giving up mattered. Nothing was wasted. God was watching all of it. Even when nobody applauded you, even when nobody noticed your growth, heaven noticed. And soon, the evidence of God's hand on your life will become undeniable. The same people who overlooked you will wonder what changed, but they will not understand the full truth. Because what changed was not external first, it was internal. God healed your spirit before elevating your life. And that is why this next chapter will be different. Chosen one, if this message reached you today, it is not by accident. God wanted to remind you that your process had purpose, your pain had purpose, your waiting had purpose, and your survival had purpose. You did not go through all of this for nothing. You were being prepared, watched, refined, strengthened. Because heaven was waiting to see whether you would become bitter or become transformed. And chosen one, you transformed. So keep moving forward. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep becoming. Because what God is about to do in your life will make every painful season worth it. And one day soon, you will look back at this difficult chapter and realize it was the very season that introduced you to the strongest version of yourself. Amen. Chosen one, there was a reason God allowed you to walk through a season where almost everything familiar was taken away from you. At the time, it felt cruel. It felt confusing. You kept asking heaven the S. Am I a question over and over again? Why is this happening to me? You prayed for answers, but instead of immediate clarity, all you heard was silence. And that silence tested you more than the pain itself. Because pain at least gives you something to fight against, But silence forces you to confront yourself. It forces you to sit alone with your thoughts, your fears, your disappointments, and the hidden wounds you spent years trying to ignore. And that is exactly where God needed you, because there were parts of your spirit that could only be healed in isolation. Chosen one, God was watching to see if you would still seek Him when there was no applause around your obedience. Anyone can worship during visible blessings. Anyone can speak about faith when prayers are answered quickly. But your real transformation began when you continued praying while heaven seemed quiet. That is the level of faith that changes a person forever. The enemy expected your disappointment to turn into bitterness. He expected betrayal to harden your heart. He expected rejection to make you quit on your purpose completely. But instead of becoming cold, something sacred happened inside you. You became deeper. You became wiser. You became spiritually aware in a way you never were before. You started realizing that every painful experience carried a hidden lesson. Every closed door was actually divine protection. Every delay was shaping your character. Every lonely night was building spiritual endurance inside your soul. And slowly, without even noticing it at first, you stopped depending on people to validate your worth. That was the moment heaven saw the change. Because for so long, you were giving your energy to people who could never recognize the calling on your life. You kept trying to explain your heart to people committed to misunderstanding you. You kept exhausting yourself chasing acceptance from individuals who were never assigned to your destiny. But pain opened your eyes. God allowed disappointment to disconnect you from unhealthy attachments that were draining your spirit. Chosen one, the version of you today is not the same person you were before the storm. Something inside you has matured. Your spirit no longer panics the way it used to. You no longer break down every time someone walks away from you. You no longer feel desperate for approval because God taught you how to stand emotionally and spiritually on your own. That lesson was painful, but it was necessary. Because where God is taking you next, emotional weakness would have destroyed your purpose. So heaven had to teach you how to remain grounded even when life became unstable around you. There were moments you cried in secret and nobody knew. Moments you smiled in front of people while silently carrying emotional exhaustion in your chest. There were nights when you questioned whether your prayers were even reaching heaven. But what you did not realize was that God was observing your response during the process. He was waiting to see whether you would continue trusting Him even when you could not see immediate results. And chosen one, you passed that test every single time you chose faith over fear. Every time you kept moving despite exhaustion. Every time you worshipped through tears. Every time you resisted the urge to give up completely. Heaven noticed all of it, and now your spirit carries a different kind of strength. Not loud strength, not prideful strength. Quiet strength, the kind developed through surviving battles nobody else knew about. People can sense it when they stand near you now. There is a peace growing inside you that does not make sense considering everything you survived. That peace is not weakness. That peace is evidence that God carried you through the fire and protected your soul from becoming consumed by darkness. Chosen one, this is what God was waiting to see from you. He was waiting to see whether the pain would destroy your faith or deepen it. And instead of losing yourself in the storm, you found Him more deeply than ever before. That transformation changed everything in the spiritual realm. Chosen one of the hardest battles you were ever meant to fight was never against people. It was never against the betrayal, the rejection, or the opposition surrounding your life. The greatest battle was always happening within your own spirit, because the enemy understood something about you long before you understood it yourself. He knew there was a calling on your life. He knew God placed something rare inside your soul, and because of that, the attacks against your mind became relentless. The enemy's goal was never simply to hurt you. His goal was to make you doubt who you were before you ever stepped into who God created you to become. That is why confusion surrounded you for so long. That is why you constantly questioned yourself even when heaven was guiding you. The enemy wanted you trapped in insecurity because insecure people need. Ever walk boldly into their purpose? Chosen one, there were seasons when you shrank yourself just to make others comfortable. You stayed silent when God wanted you to speak. You tolerated disrespect because you feared losing people. You ignored your spiritual discernment because you wanted to believe the best in everyone. And every time you abandoned your inner conviction to please others, your spirit felt heavier. That heaviness was not random. It was your soul warning you that you were disconnecting from your true identity. But then the pain increased, the betrayals became clearer, the disappointments became impossible to ignore. And slowly, God began exposing everything that could no longer continue into your next season. It felt brutal at first. Relationships started falling apart. Certain conversations began draining you. Environments that once felt normal suddenly made your spirit uncomfortable. You tried to hold on to certain people, but deep down you knew something had changed permanently. Chosen one, that was not punishment. That was spiritual awakening. God was removing you from places where your light was constantly being dimmed, because there are environments where your spirit cannot grow properly. Some people only know the broken version of you, and when you begin healing, they become uncomfortable with your transformation. They preferred the version of you that tolerated mistreatment, the version that constantly doubted itself, the version that stayed emotionally weak and easy to control. But healing changed you. God began teaching you boundaries. He began teaching you discernment. And most importantly, He began teaching you your value through His eyes instead of the world's opinion. Chosen one, that is why your loneliness became necessary. Heaven had to separate you from constant noise so you could finally hear God clearly. Because when too many voices surround you, it becomes difficult to recognize divine direction. And for the first time in your life, God needed your full attention. He needed you away from distractions, away from fake love, away from environments that were suffocating your spirit. Isolation was not abandonment. Isolation was preparation. There were nights during that season where you felt emotionally exhausted. You questioned why people changed toward you. You wondered why certain doors suddenly closed. You even questioned whether you had done something wrong. But what you could not see at the time was that heaven was protecting your future. Some people could not go where God was taking you because their assignment in your life had already ended. And holding on to expired connections would have delayed your purpose even longer. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if you would finally choose Him over unhealthy attachments. Because many people pray for elevation while still clinging to relationships that destroy their peace. Many ask God for purpose while remaining connected to environments that weaken their spirit daily. But eventually, your pain became too loud to ignore. You realized that protecting your peace was not selfish, it was spiritual wisdom. And once you stopped begging people to understand your heart, your healing accelerated. Something powerful happens when a chosen one stops chasing validation from the wrong people. Their energy changes, their spirit becomes lighter, their discernment sharpens. Their confidence no longer depends on external approval because they begin understanding who they are in Christ. And chosen one, this is exactly what heaven was waiting to see from you. God was waiting for the moment you stopped seeing yourself through the lens of rejection and started seeing yourself through the lens of divine purpose. Because the truth is, your worth was never determined by who walked away from you. Your value was never reduced by betrayal. And your calling was never cancelled because others failed to recognize it. God's hand remained on your life even during your darkest season. In fact, some of your greatest spiritual growth happened when nobody was applauding you, when nobody understood you, when nobody checked on you. Those silent battles built a strength inside your soul that could not have developed any other way. Now look at yourself. You are not as easily manipulated anymore. You are not as emotionally fragile anymore. You are not blindly trusting every person who enters your life anymore. God opened your eyes through experience. And although the lessons hurt, they awakened a wisdom within you that will protect your future. Chosen one, this next chapter of your life will require confidence, discernment, and spiritual authority. That is why God allowed the previous season to break illusions around you. He was teaching you to stop settling for less than what heaven ordained for your life. Chosen one, there is a reason the battle became more intense the moment you started growing spiritually. The enemy was never truly threatened by the verse on a view that lived in fear, confusion, and self-doubt. But the moment you began awakening to your identity in God, everything shifted in the spiritual realm. Suddenly the attacks increased, the pressure became heavier, your mind became a battlefield, and situations started happening that made no logical sense. You wondered why things became harder the closer you got to God. But what you did not realize was this: darkness always reacts when heaven is preparing elevation. The enemy recognized your spiritual growth before you fully recognized it yourself. That is why distractions multiplied around you. That is why emotional warfare intensified, because the enemy knew if you fully stepped into your calling, you would become dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Chosen one, your prayers carry power now. Your discernment has become sharper. Your presence itself disrupts negative energy around you. And although you may not always see it, heaven has been developing spiritual authority inside your soul through every battle you survived. Think about everything that tried to destroy you emotionally. The betrayal, the delays, the disappointments, the loneliness, the exhaustion. Some days it felt like wave after wave kept crashing into your life without giving you time to recover. There were moments you almost lost hope completely, moments you questioned if God still saw you, moments where your faith became exhausted from waiting. But somehow, despite all of it, something inside you refused to die. That was not ordinary strength. That was God sustaining your spirit even when your heart felt weak. Chosen one, many people around you could not understand why you survived what would have broken someone else. They saw the pressure on your life. They witnessed the attacks. But they could not understand why your spirit kept rising after every fall. The reason is because God placed resilience inside you before you were even born. There is a divine assignment attached to your existence, and heaven refused to allow darkness to erase it. Every battle you faced was shaping you into someone spiritually stronger than before. The difficult part was that growth did not happen publicly. Most of your transformation happened in hidden places, quiet places, lonely places. There were prayers nobody heard, tears nobody saw, spiritual battles nobody knew you were fighting. While the world continued moving normally around you, your soul was fighting for survival internally. And chosen one, that hidden warfare created a depth inside you that cannot be taught through comfort alone. Pain became your teacher. Silence became your training ground, and isolation became the place where God rebuilt your spirit from the inside out. You started noticing changes within yourself. Small changes at first. Things that once distracted you no longer had power over you. Conversations that used to entertain you suddenly felt empty. You became more protective of your peace, more aware of spiritual energy, more sensitive to God's voice. And even though part of you missed the old version of yourself, another part knew you could never return to who you once were. Because suffering awakened something permanent inside your spirit. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if you would continue seeking him when the emotional excitement faded. Because true faith is not built only during emotional moments. True faith is built during silence, during uncertainty, during seasons where you feel spiritually tired but continue trusting anyway. And that is exactly what you did. Even when your prayers were not answered immediately, you kept believing. Even when life became confusing, you kept moving forward. Even when your heart felt wounded, you still chose not to give up on God. That decision changed your spiritual identity forever. Because now your relationship with God is no longer shallow. It is no longer based only on blessings or visible miracles. It became real, deep-rooted. You stopped seeking God only for rescue and started seeking him for transformation. And heaven honored that maturity within you. Chosen one, there is a difference between people who know about God and people who truly walk with him through suffering. Suffering reveals authenticity. It reveals whether faith is genuine or temporary. And your endurance revealed something powerful to heaven. You are stronger now than you realize. Not because life became easier, but because God developed endurance inside your spirit. The same situations that once shattered your peace no longer control you the same way. The same people who once manipulated your emotions no longer have access to your inner stability. Why? Because God healed parts of your soul that were once vulnerable. He taught you how to depend on him instead of constantly depending on external reassurance. And chosen one, this next season will require exactly that kind of strength. Because where God is taking you, emotional instability cannot follow. Fear cannot follow. Doubt cannot follow. The battles you survived were preparing you for greater responsibility, greater wisdom, and greater spiritual authority. One day you will look back at this painful season and realize something incredible. The very thing meant to destroy your faith became the thing that deepened it the most. And that is why the enemy failed. Because instead of breaking you, the fire revealed who God truly created you to be. Chosen one of the greatest signs that God is transforming your life is that you no longer feel comfortable in places that once felt normal to you. The conversations have changed. Your desires have changed. Even your spirit reacts differently now. Things that once entertained you suddenly feel empty. Certain people exhaust your energy instead of inspiring your soul. And deep down, you know this shift is not random. God is separating you from what no longer aligns with your destiny. At first, this transition felt lonely. You tried to hold on to old connections because part of you feared being alone. You kept hoping certain people would finally understand your heart. You kept giving chances to those who repeatedly drained your peace. But eventually, your spirit became too tired to continue carrying relationships that God was already asking you to release. Chosen one, not every person assigned to your past is meant to enter your future. Some people were only temporary lessons disguised as permanent attachments. And the longer you hold on to expired relationships, the harder it becomes for God to introduce the connections truly meant for your next season. This is why your discernment has been increasing lately. God is opening your spiritual eyes. You are beginning to sense things before people even speak. You can feel when energy is dishonest. You can feel when someone secretly envies your growth. You can feel when an environment is spiritually heavy. Before, you ignored these warnings because you wanted to see the good in everyone. But experience taught you that not everybody around you celebrates your purpose. Some people are attached to your life only to benefit from your light while secretly resenting the favor God placed upon you. Chosen one of the hardest truths you had to accept is that some people loved your brokenness more than your healing. They were comfortable when you doubted yourself, comfortable when you lacked boundaries, comfortable when you constantly sacrificed your peace to keep everyone else happy. But once God began healing your spirit, everything changed. You started saying no to what drained you. You stopped over-explaining yourself. You stopped begging people to value you correctly. And suddenly, certain individuals became uncomfortable with your growth. Do not ignore this shift. When God begins elevating a chosen one spiritually, separation becomes necessary. Because environments that tolerated your pain will often resist your healing. Some people only know how to connect with the wounded version of you. They do not know how to handle the version of you that walks in confidence, wisdom, and discernment. And instead of celebrating your transformation, they may try to guilt you for changing. But chosen one, growth always creates distance between who you are becoming and who people expected you to remain. There were nights where this realization hurt deeply. You mourned relationships that no longer felt genuine. You questioned why certain people suddenly became distant after your spiritual awakening. You wondered why your circle became smaller while your connection with God became stronger. But heaven was teaching you something powerful through the loneliness. God was showing you that isolation is sometimes protection in disguise, because when your purpose is significant, distractions become dangerous. The enemy understands that if he cannot destroy a chosen one directly, he will try to surround them with confusion, unhealthy attachments, emotional chaos, and draining relationships. He will send distractions disguised as comfort. He will send people who consume your energy while adding nothing to your spirit. And if you are not discerning, you will spend years emotionally exhausted because you are carrying people God never assigned you to carry. But chosen one, your spirit is awakening now. You are beginning to understand that peace is holy, protecting your energy is holy, walking away from constant negativity is holy, and choosing distance from people who repeatedly wound your spirit is not cruelty, it is wisdom. God never asked you to destroy yourself trying to save everyone else. That lesson changed you forever. Now you notice how your soul reacts around certain people. You notice how some conversations leave you anxious while others bring clarity and peace. You notice how your intuition warns you before problems even appear. That is not coincidence. That is spiritual discernment developing through experience and prayer. And the more connected you become to God, the more sensitive your spirit becomes to environments that are not aligned with His will for your life. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if you would finally choose peace over emotional chaos, because for too long you confused struggle with loyalty. You believed enduring mistreatment proved love. You believed sacrificing your mental and spiritual health made you a good person. But heaven needed you to understand something important. Protecting your peace is not selfish when God is calling you higher. The next chapter of your life cannot be built on constant emotional exhaustion. It cannot be built on fake relationships, hidden envy, and spiritual confusion. God is preparing you for elevation, and elevation requires separation. Some people cannot follow you into your next season because their mindset, intentions, and energy are incompatible with where heaven is taking you. And although the separation hurt, look at how much stronger your spirit has become. You pray differently now. You think differently now. You carry yourself differently now. There is a calmness developing within you that did not exist before. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because God taught you how to stop attaching your peace to unstable people. He taught you how to find security in His presence instead of human validation. Chosen one, this is what God was waiting to see from you. He was waiting for the moment you stopped abandoning yourself just to keep others comfortable. He was waiting for the moment you finally realized your spirit deserved protection too. And now that you understand that lesson, your entire life is beginning to shift spiritually, emotionally, and mentally toward the destiny heaven prepared for you long ago. Chosen one, the reason your journey has felt so painful is because God was never preparing you for an ordinary life. Ordinary people do not endure the kind of spiritual warfare you survived. Ordinary souls do not carry the weight you have carried in silence. There is a reason your battles felt heavier than those around you. There is a reason you often felt misunderstood, even when surrounded by people. Heaven placed a calling on your life that required transformation before elevation, and transformation is never comfortable. God had to break certain patterns inside you before He could trust you with the next chapter of your destiny. Because sometimes the greatest obstacle standing between a chosen one and their purpose is not external opposition, it is the wounded mindset they carry within themselves. Chosen one, there were seasons where fear controlled your decisions more than faith did. You doubted yourself constantly. You questioned your worth. You hesitated every time God called you to move forward because deep inside, part of you still felt unqualified. The enemy used your past failures, your disappointments, and your emotional wounds to convince you that you were too broken to be used by God. But heaven never saw you the way your pain saw you. While you focused on your weaknesses, God focused on your potential. While you focused on your scars, God focused on your calling. And every difficult season you experienced was slowly removing the false identity you developed through trauma, rejection, and disappointment. Because the truth is, many of the beliefs you carried about yourself were never from God. They were built through pain, built through criticism, built through environments where your spirit was constantly underestimated. You started believing you had to earn love. You started believing you had to overwork to prove your value. You started believing your mistakes disqualified you from purpose. And without realizing it, you carried those wounds into every area of your life, into relationships, into opportunities, even into your relationship with God. There were moments where you secretly feared that heaven was disappointed in you, moments where shame made you hide parts of yourself emotionally and spiritually. But chosen one, God was never waiting for perfection from you. He was waiting for surrender. That realization changed everything, because surrender required you to stop pretending to be strong all the time. It required honesty, vulnerability, trust, and for someone who spent years surviving emotional pain, trust did not come easily. You learned how to protect yourself from disappointment by building walls around your heart. But those same walls that protected you also prevented deeper healing. So God allowed certain situations to break you emotionally, not to destroy you, but to soften your spirit again. There were moments where you reached the end of your own strength completely, moments where you realized no amount of control, planning, or overthinking could fix what was happening inside your soul. And that was the exact moment heaven needed from you. Because as long as you depended entirely on yourself, you could never feel the force. Eli experienced the power of depending on God. Chosen one, this is why your season of waiting became sacred. While you thought God was delaying your blessings, He was rebuilding your foundation internally. He was teaching you patience, teaching you humility, teaching you obedience. And most importantly, He was teaching you your identity through His eyes instead of through your wounds. Every painful delay carried a lesson your spirit needed before entering the next level. Because unhealed pain can sabotage even the greatest blessings. God knew that if He elevated you too quickly while your spirit was still wounded, you would eventually destroy yourself emotionally trying to maintain what heaven gave you. So instead, He slowed things down intentionally. He allowed isolation to expose your fears. He allowed silence to reveal where your trust was weak. He allowed disappointment to break unhealthy attachments. And although it felt unbearable at times, every painful moment was shaping spiritual maturity within you. Now look at the person you are becoming. You no longer seek constant validation the same way. You no longer panic every time life becomes uncertain. You no longer depend entirely on human approval to feel valuable. Why? Because God healed something deep inside your spirit. You are beginning to understand that your identity was never supposed to come from people, success, money, or relationships. Your identity comes from who God says you are. And once a chosen one truly understands that, fear begins losing its power. The enemy wanted you trapped in insecurity forever because insecure people stay small. They hesitate. They doubt themselves. They avoid their calling because they feel unworthy. But God spent this entire season breaking those chains off your mind. Every battle strengthened your discernment. Every disappointment increased your wisdom. Every painful lesson developed resilience within your spirit. Chosen one, God was waiting to see whether your suffering would make you run away from Him or run deeper into His presence. And despite every reason you had to give up, you kept returning to Him. You kept praying through the confusion. You kept seeking Him through the exhaustion. You kept believing even when your circumstances made no sense. That faith transformed you. Not shallow faith, not temporary faith, real faith. The kind built through survival, and because of that, you are stepping into a season where your strength will no longer come from external things. It will come from the unshakable foundation God built inside your spirit through every storm you survived. Chosen one, you are entering a season where God is about to reveal why everything had to happen the way it did. Right now, there are still moments where the pain confuses you. There are memories that still hurt when they cross your mind. There are unanswered questions that continue echoing quietly inside your spirit. But heaven is asking you to trust something deeper than your understanding. Because what felt like abandonment was actually preparation. What felt like delay was actually alignment. And what felt like destruction was often divine protection working behind the scenes. There were things God could not allow into your future. Certain mindsets, certain attachments, certain habits, certain people. And because you were emotionally connected to many of those things, God had to separate you through experience instead of explanation. Chosen one, sometimes God removes people from your life because they were becoming obstacles to your calling, not contributors to it. But when your heart is attached, you do not always recognize danger immediately. That is why heaven allowed certain betrayals to happen. Not because God wanted to hurt you, but because He needed to expose what you could not see while emotionally blinded. Think about how many times you begged God to keep certain people in your life. How many times you cried over doors closing. How many times you questioned why situations fell apart when you had good intentions. At the time you saw loss, but God saw rescue, because some relationships were draining your spirit slowly while pretending to nourish it. Some opportunities looked good externally but would have damaged your peace internally. And some paths you desperately wanted to walk would have taken you far away from your divine assignment. Chosen one, this is why discernment became one of the greatest gifts heaven developed inside you during this season. Before, you trusted too quickly. You ignored warning signs. You kept hoping people would become who they repeatedly showed you they were not. But pain sharpened your spiritual vision. Now your spirit notices things your eyes once ignored. You feel shifts in energy. You sense dishonesty quicker. You recognize manipulation faster. That wisdom did not come from comfort. It came through surviving experiences that forced you to grow. And although the lessons were painful, they awakened something powerful inside your soul. You stopped seeing yourself as weak. You stopped seeing yourself as abandoned. You stopped seeing your sensitivity as a curse. Because God showed you that your sensitivity was actually spiritual awareness. The enemy tried to convince you that feeling deeply made you fragile, but heaven was teaching you that your heart was designed to discern what others overlook. The problem was never your sensitivity. The problem was giving your heart to environments that mishandled it. Chosen one, God was waiting to see if you would finally trust His direction over your emotions. That was one of the hardest lessons of all. Because emotions can become loud during painful seasons. Loneliness can tempt you to reconnect with unhealthy people. Fear can tempt you to settle for less than God promised. Delay can tempt you to force doors open that heaven intentionally closed. But slowly, through every battle, you learn something life-changing. Not every opportunity is an assignment from God. That understanding protected your spirit. Now you are becoming more intentional with your energy, more careful with your circle, more aware of what influences your peace. And this growth is necessary because your next season requires clarity. God is preparing you for opportunities that demand emotional maturity and spiritual discipline. You cannot carry old confusion into a new chapter ordained by heaven. The beautiful part is that you are finally beginning to see yourself differently now, not through the eyes of rejection, not through the wounds of your past, but through the perspective God has been trying to show you all along. You are realizing that surviving those dark seasons was proof that God's hand never left your life. Even during moments where you felt spiritually exhausted, heaven was sustaining you quietly behind the scenes. There were nights when you thought you would break completely, but you did not. There were moments you thought your faith would disappear, but somehow it remained. There were situations that should have destroyed your peace permanently. Yet here you are, still standing. That is not accidental, chosen one. That is grace. That is God carrying you when your own strength failed. And now your spirit carries evidence of survival. People notice something different about you even if they cannot explain it. There is depth in your voice now, wisdom in your silence now, strength in your presence now. Because pain refined you instead of ruining you, the fire changed you, but it did not consume you. And this next chapter will reveal why the process was necessary. The doors opening soon will require the version of you that learned patience. The relationships entering your life will require the version of you that developed discernment. The blessings coming toward you will require the version of you that learned humility and dependence on God. Everything is connected. Nothing was wasted. Even your tears carried purpose. Chosen one, God was never simply trying to bless your external life. He was transforming your inner life first, because external success without internal healing eventually collapses. So heaven focused on your spirit before your circumstances. God healed your mind before elevating your position. He strengthened your heart before releasing your next assignment. And now, after all the battles, all the waiting, all the heartbreak, and all the spiritual warfare, you are finally becoming the person God was waiting to see emerge from the storm.